Welcome to our podcast.
I'm Evan.
And I'm Catherine.
Today we'll be looking back and reflecting on our semester-long writing projects that we just completed in our literary journalism class.
We'll touch on thematic elements, inspiration, community engagement, and our personal interests within our project.
My story focused on animal welfare in Burlington, North Carolina, and how it relates to empathy.
And mine detailed the history and future of the historic Paramount Theatre in Burlington, which is getting a major renovation this year.
Yeah, so Catherine, I'm sorry.
You're good.
Tell me, why did you decide to cover the Paramount Theatre?
So the reason that I decided to cover the Paramount was actually because my first story idea flopped because I did not get on it soon enough. And I was kind of freaking out. I came into one of our class periods and I was like, Dr. Ahearn, what do I do? And she gave me the idea, and then once I sort of jumped into the history and I started reading all of the articles about it, but also like going to go see the theater for myself, I was just very struck by how close people have come because of it. And I was just, I'm always one to do a history story. That's something that's really important to me, and just something that I always feel like I am strong in, so I wanted to play to my strengths in this story and make it kind of history focused, because I did do a project on Gibsonville in the past, and I did it about the antique mall there that used to be an abandoned mill. So they told me all about like NAFTA and like free trade and how that like really messed up a lot of small towns in North Carolina. So I felt like I already sort of knew the gist of it, but on that project I regretted the fact that I didn't really involve myself in the community as much. I only talked to a few people. So for this project I really wanted to like dedicate myself to really being there and making those connections.
Great. And speaking of the connections, how did you find people in the community to interview? There, of course, the people involved with construction, you were able to connect with those, but how did you find community members who have memories of the Paramount?
Yeah, so that was actually a process that I was a little bit worried about at first, and then it really was just a stroke of luck. I was talking to the theater director, and I would just ask him constantly if there were any events that he might think that would be remotely important for me to go to, and he had said like offhand once, he was like, yeah, like there's this one meeting for people who want to make a historical society or a historical museum about Burlington, and he was like, oh, I don't know if you would even want to go to that, like, I'm annoyed that they're using my office space, like blah blah blah. And I was like, are you joking? I totally want to be there. So I just showed up and I sat down, and, I was kind of the only young person there, so a lot of people were really curious as to why I was there. So a lot of people actually approached me. But I literally just talked to them and asked them if they would want to be a part of the story, and a lot of them are all really connected with each other, so it worked really well, because they all knew my name. They would be like, oh, Catherine's coming over, Catherine's this. They like would send each other Facebook messages. So, like, I felt like I was kind of in, just also from just being friendly and, having a smiling face for them to remember. So, yeah.
Great. And how did you balance covering the history of the theater and also covering its goals for the future?
So for this story, I did keep it pretty history heavy because I think that the history of it is important. But like, I think in revisions moving forward, I want to make it a little more present focused. But I basically just chose to include a lot of information that came straight from the construction meetings that I went to and straight from the business meetings that I went to, because I just wanted to go off of exactly what they said about their vision and their vibe for the theater. And something that I sort of had to balance was they gave me a lot of PR responses about like, oh, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, this is going to be amazing for the whole town, it's going to make it a destination. And a lot of people, I bought into that at first, 100%. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But as soon as I started to talk to people who've grown up in Burlington about it, they were like, yeah, we don't really know if that's gonna work. It's so much different, it's changing a lot. So I think just kind of balancing both of those narratives with remembering that, things are kind of uncertain for them, and they have been uncertain throughout the years, and like that's okay, So yeah.
Right. And in your own words, and to you, what is the importance of the Paramount's reconstruction?
I think that it's really about identity and it's about personality for Burlington, because I think that the Paramount was very much a centerpiece for the community for such a long time. Just the physical building being so beautiful and so central in downtown, but also it being sort of a place for the good old days that a lot of people remember it as. But I think that the story also, and I think the reconstruction shows this too, that the past was not perfect and it shouldn't ever be painted as perfect, but it is about community and revival and sort of moving forward as a community.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and ask you some questions about your story.
Great.
So tell me about the interest in your personal life that drew you to this topic, and how were you able to kind of stay true to them throughout the reporting process?
So I love animals so much. I come from a house that always had animals in it growing up, whether it was mostly cats, because growing up we had 4, and my sister had guinea pigs for a while. Hamsters. She had hamsters, not guinea pigs. But we did always have at least one animal in the house, just my entire life. So I've grown up around animals, I've gotten familiar with them, and I love them. I know how much they can love people and how much they can bring joy to people's lives. And so that's why I wanted to cover this, because these are animals that at the moment don't have anyone in their lives to show their love to, except for the shelter workers. So I wanted to humanize them because they are going through a lot, and hopefully by humanizing them I can also get people aware of them. People are aware of shelter animals, of course, but maybe they aren't aware of what it's like in a shelter. So I wanted to really humanize the location, the struggles that the shelter is going through, both the workers and the animals, and just animal welfare and care in Alamance County. I wanted to humanize that, and that's how I think I stayed true to it, by really making it an emotional core while not overdoing it and like tugging on heartstrings too much.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is really underrated how much animals actually can feel for you and show love.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering if you went down any sort of unexpected paths while you were reporting, because I think sometimes stories will just go in a completely different direction, or maybe just a slight change. And what was that experience like?
So I did, of course, want to talk about some of the community incentives and programs that Burlington Animal Services offers to the community, but I didn't expect to be talking about their Mighty Mousers program as much as I did. It's a trap, neuter, release program, which basically people will rent out a trap from the animal shelter. They'll set it up in their community, neighborhood, house, that area, and when a cat goes into it, they'll be trapped. Then they bring the trap back to the shelter. The stray cat is neutered and then brought back to wherever it was originally captured from and sent back into the community. Other communities, and for a long time, the solution to stray cat problems was capturing the stray cats and euthanizing them. This did sometimes work, but it needed a lot of euthanization in order to even crack at the numbers, because stray cats reproduce a lot. But neutering them and putting them back in the community, it does help. It does still take a lot of resources, but being able to have a more humane way of doing it will also encourage community members to be involved with it, because people feel for animals and they're not going to want to be part of a program that's actively killing cats.
Absolutely.
Even if it's not if it's not anyone's cat, that's still the community's cat. That people still see it, and whether they're annoyed by it being a stray or not, they will still see it, and simply euthanizing that cat will just be a hole in the community. So having a more humane way of doing it will encourage the community to be like, well, it's a good solution and I can get behind it because it's not hurting any cat specifically.
Absolutely. And I'm wondering how you were able to balance these personal interests with that sense of like journalistic integrity that we always try to keep in mind, like maybe with sources, but also when writing.
Yes. So this is a very emotional story, I feel like, because it's an emotional topic. Shelter animals, you always think of the In the Arms of the Angels commercials.
ASPCA.
Yes. So there is absolutely an emotional core to it, and I did want to touch on that, but I didn't want to make it the whole thing, because this is still journalism, and there's lots of facts that some people probably don't know. There's lots of programs that are being offered by these shelters that aren't just for the animals, they're also for the community. So I feel like I tried to balance the emotions and the facts by presenting it as it was. For example, there's one dog that I followed who was at the shelter. His name was Copper. 10 years old, came to the shelter as a stray. He has behavioral problems, was adopted from the shelter once, but was returned the very next day, and was in a foster home for about a month, I believe, before being returned after another outburst. It was very sad, but I couldn't try to editorialize that. I just had to present the facts in the way that I did just then, because people will get emotion out of it by themselves. I don't need to force anyone to feel sorry for this dog, because by telling that story, you probably felt sorry for him just with me presenting that.
Exactly. Like, I think, yeah, it's important too, because sometimes you don't have to just like hammer it home and be like, this is sad, because people will definitely get it.
People aren't dumb whenever they're reading. If you want people to feel something, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it to drink. So just present the emotions that, well, don't exactly present emotions, that's editorializing, but present information that can stir up emotions, and people will feel what they want to feel.
Definitely. And just to close us off, I'm wondering if you could describe your story and its characters in just a couple of sentences, and like how would you describe them?
I would say the characters are people who love animals and animals who love people, because everyone has empathy in their hearts, and studies have proven that we have empathy for animals. It may not come as naturally as it does for other humans, but we still do have empathy in our hearts for animals. And animals they love us as well. They are easy to form connections with, and it's very important to be able to have those connections with people and with animals, just the two of them together. It's a beautiful thing, and I wanted to show that.
I love it. Well, thanks for listening to our podcast, Dr. Ahearn.
Yes, thank you.
And thanks for a great semester.
This has been an awesome semester. Thank you so much.
We'll catch you next time.